Attention, Houston on the big loop. Dragon is resuming approach and is go for docking. Monitor per steps 5 and 6 in 1.102 Dragon approach and retreat monitoring.
Station copies. We'll go.
And that's the call we wanted to hear. Dragon is go for docking. Just a few meters away from the space station now, but when we are about at the 2-meter point, you may hear a call called CHOP, and that stands for the crew hands-off period. While everything has been done autonomously today so far, when we do hear that call CHOP, it means that any re-rendezvous would need to be done automatically through Dragon, and the crew would not be initiating any of that. We are 16 meters away from the International Space Station. On the left is Crew Dragon Endurance coming in for docking. On the top right with its nose cone deployed is the Crew Dragon Freedom that is currently docked to the International Space Station and is the vehicle that Crew-4 will return home on.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see, excuse me, both two Dragons really in the same shot. Once again, the Crew-5 vehicle there on the left, making its docking approach, which we're expecting in under 10 minutes. And then, of course, the Crew-4 vehicle there on the previous shot on the right-hand side. As we get closer, we can see more and more of the Dragon vehicle. For those of you wondering what those 4 black circles are, those are the forward Draco thrusters.
SpaceX copies, 10 meters.
And 10 meters away from space station now. And if you look at the Dragon capsule, you can actually see the side Draco thrusters thrusting, helping to steer Dragon closer to station accurately.
And hearing we're just a couple of minutes away from docking should be coming up just momentarily. Dragon now traveling less than 1 meter per second as it closes in for docking.
As you said before, Sandra, slow and steady wins the race here.
Less than 10 meters separating Dragon from the space station.
Copy, 5 meters.
And that call, 5 meters separating Dragon from space station. Should be about a minute until we are docked and Crew-5 is home for the next few months. Should hear that call for CHOP here momentarily.
2 meters, CHOP.
And there it was.
Copy, 2 meters.
2 meters, crew hands-off point. Happens about 25 seconds before contact.
1 meter.
1 meter.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, contact and soft capture complete. Attenuation in progress.
And contact confirmed. Dragon made contact with the International Space Station at 2:01 p.m. Pacific, just off the west coast of Africa.
Now, there are still a few steps that Dragon has to complete before it is securely attached to the station. So we are going to walk through those. We're going to have completion of that SOP capture ring retraction, and then we're going to begin the hard capture sequence. And then a few minutes after that, some time passes, that we will have completion of that hard docking.
Dragon SpaceX, ring retraction in progress.
So there is that first thing I mentioned, that ring retraction for soft capture.
And that soft capture ring will retract until its sensors indicate that it is time for the hooks to drive and create a hard capture. There are 12 hooks that are going to be driven to form that hard mate, and they take place in a series of 6. So the first 6 will drive, and then the second 6 will drive.
Just like everything about the approach this morning, everything is in sequence. Now you might notice the view of Dragon is a little darker than it was before as it was coming in. Of course, the station and now Dragon are orbiting Earth, and it looks like they are lost the sunlight there. Live view there from SpaceX Mission Control, based here in Hawthorne, California.
And so if you are just tuning in with us, Crew-5 has safely completed docking to the International Space Station. That docking occurred at 4:01 p.m. just off the west coast of Africa. Their journey began yesterday afternoon when they lifted off at 11 a.m. Central Time from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. 3 first-time flyers on board Crew-5 and 1 veteran astronaut from JAXA, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, Koichi Wakata. And then those 3 first-time flyers are NASA astronaut Nicole Mann, who is the first ever female commander of a Dragon, and once she floats on board Space Station will be the first Native American to ever visit the International Space Station, as well as NASA astronaut Josh Cassada, who's the first-time flyer as well, and the other first-time flyer is Roscosmos cosmonaut Anna Kikina.
That's right. Now we have a little over 5 minutes left until docking is considered complete. As Sandra was just mentioning, the 3 first-time spacegoers on this mission, I would have to imagine that at this point in time, they must be like children sitting in a car seat, just wanting to get out. They have spent a long time making this journey, literally since launch yesterday at noon Eastern time. And you know, they have friends on board station, and I bet they're just so excited to get out of their seats, get out of their suits, open up that hatch, and ultimately go get to hang out with their friends for a couple months.
Absolutely.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop, ring retraction complete. Docking sequence is holding for MCS reconfiguration.
Second copy.
And we did hear confirmation that the soft capture ring retraction is complete. So the next up is that hard capture sequence start. Again, there's 12 hooks that are going to drive in to create that hard dock between Dragon and the space station. We'll first see 6 of those hooks begin to drive, and then the other 6, and that will have our docking be complete.
Now, looking forward to the next events, like I mentioned before, we have about now 4 minutes left until docking is complete. The Crew-5 crew will have the opportunity to doff or take off their suits. And then it's almost 90 minutes until they actually get to open that APAS hatch and get to go see their friends, really get to greet the Crew-4 crew and the other members, other astronauts that are on station. So as we've mentioned before, everything is a series of checks and check-ins. Everything is a checklist, a sequence of events, and so yeah, they're at the station.
Station Houston on the big loop. MCS configured. Proceeding with hook driving.
So there's that confirmation that we will begin to drive that first set of 6 hooks, and that is basically that hard capture process.
So hooks are driving. This is the second time in the flight that we have done something with these hooks. They were also used just a short time after liftoff, after Dragon was inserted into a nominal orbit, and they helped to allow that nose cone to swing open. So hooks are continuing to drive. First 6 hooks driving.
Live view there inside the Dragon capsule. We can see the crew has their visors down in the locked position. Again, this is to ensure that if, for any unlikely event that Dragon were to lose pressurization, that suit would act as a second capsule, basically. It's it's almost a spacecraft of its own, being able to provide environment and pressure for the crew in an emergency.
And the crew does wear that spacesuit during all of the dynamic phases of flight, during launch, of course docking, but here pretty shortly they will be able to take off that spacesuit, and they'll actually hang them up to dry before they begin to pressurize that vestibule and get ready to float through the space station hatch.
As we've mentioned before, those suits are unique, especially fitted for each astronaut, so they all have their own storage locations that the suit will get stored in, and then they'll actually put them back on not right before they come home. They'll do another fit check basically shortly before they come home. So the Crew-4 crew will be doing that soon in preparation for their return back to Earth, hopefully next week. But yeah, that's basically just to make sure that the spacesuit that they arrived in still fits well, no hot spots for movement, and is still good for them to wear home. As Sandra mentioned before, those of us here on Earth, we know what gravity feels like, and the body does change with a lack of gravity. So in the microgravity environment that the astronauts live and work in for months at a time, your bodily fluids change. So in space, your bodily fluids basically reach an equilibrium across your body, whereas here on Earth, they're concentrated near our feet, wherever down is. And so, yeah, we'll have the crew put those spacesuits back on prior to beginning their journey home, just to make sure that everything still fits well. Now, we should be getting confirmation that docking is complete here in the next couple of seconds. So standing by for confirmation of docking complete.
And we did hear that the first set of 6 hooks is driving and has completed that process. So now the next 6 are driving, and as you said, once we have that finished up, we will have docking complete, and we will have what we call a hard mate. So that should happen just a few moments from now. The second set of hooks is continuing to drive. And if you are just tuning in with us, 4 astronauts arrived to the International Space Station just minutes ago at 2:01 p.m. Pacific, 5:01 p.m. Eastern Time. And they did complete the soft capture ring retraction, which was the initial step in the docking sequence, and now we are completing the hard capture sequence. We've had the first 6 hooks drive, and we are standing by for confirmation that the last 6 have driven successfully. In all, there's 12 hooks that will mate Dragon to the International Space Station.
With that live view of Dragon there on your screen, we can see the pilot and commander. So from this viewpoint, it would be Commander Nicole Mann on the left-hand side of your screen.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, hard capture complete. Moving on to ring retraction and then umbilicals.
Dragon copy.
All right, and there we just heard that that hard capture is complete. Good news there.
Yeah, that's the call that we wanted to hear. All 12 of those hooks have made it to the space station as expected. So again, we do have a hard dock at this moment.
Now, once the crew gets confirmation that docking is complete, they'll then be given the go to doff or take off their spacesuits, and then begins the couple hours long process of opening the various hatches both on the Dragon side as well as the station side. So even though they have arrived at station and we have a hard dock, confirmed hard dock, there's still a couple hours left to go before the crew gets to before the Crew-5 crew gets to embrace their fellow space station crew members.
And there will be a couple of different tasks to do after we do get those hatches open in Dragon to just get ready for those docked operations. Most of it is focused on the atmospheric control on board Dragon. So they will be removing what's called a LiO canister, or a lithium hydroxide canister, that is used to help scrub CO2 from the Dragon cabin during free flight. And they'll also remove a seal that essentially integrates Dragon's cabin with the rest of the space station. And we did hear that the umbilical deploy is underway, as we've mentioned a couple of times. Once those umbilicals get set up and attached, that's how Dragon will get its power from the International Space Station. On the flight uphill, it utilized the solar arrays that are located on the Dragon's trunk.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, umbilicals mated, docking sequence complete. Crew Dragon Endurance, and Koichi, Nicole, Josh, and Anna, welcome to the International Space Station.
Thank you so much. Crew-5 is happy to have finally arrived at the International Space Station. Endurance is a very proper name for our training mission and this spacecraft. To the NASA and the SpaceX teams, a huge thank you. Especially shout out to our training lead, Tyler Carr, for all the simulations you put us through and the training. We were definitely well prepared, and we are looking forward to getting to work.
We made it to the International Space Station. There's only through the efforts of so many people. We thank you, and we'll make you proud. Let's go, Expedition 68.
Thank you, everybody, for giving us this smooth ride, just like in the simulation. And you trained us well, and I really appreciate all the efforts of the SpaceX team, NASA, Roscosmos, JAXA, ESA, and Canada, of all the international partners. And I cannot wait to start working with our crewmates on Expedition 68.
Dragon, this is Station. We're glad to have you aboard. We'll see you here in a minute.
And there you just heard some words.
And Dragon, on behalf of SpaceX, it's been a pleasure working with all of you. Ground teams will be enabling hardline power and comm connection shortly as we work towards hatch opening. In the meantime, you are go to doff suits per procedure 4.012, and we'll bring the cameras external.
I forgot to push a button. Everything is good. I really have emotions, and we have full emotions and feelings, and really grateful to you, everybody who did it to us. And we are looking forward to see and meet guys on the station that will do work all together.
Some lovely words there from the Crew-5 crew. They have just completed docking.
I got a 4.00812.
Good read, Anna, and great words.
Last commentary there from Anna Kikina. I don't speak Russian, but I think there's a pep in her step. I think she's pretty excited to be there. So all that being said, now that Dragon has completed the docking sequence, the spacecraft must undergo a handful of checks before we're able to open that hatch. The crew on board Dragon will now get a chance to get out of their suits.
Dragon, SpaceX on Dragon to ground, cameras are external.
And that was just SpaceX Core, just letting the crew know that they're good to...
Okay, we copy. Turn on the cameras. Thank you, Check.
Just letting the crew know that they are good to take off their suits. Those onboard cameras have now been turned off for privacy reasons. The crew will get a chance to get out of their suits before moving into hatch operations.
That's right. And